My name is Noah Weber.
My name is Daxton Derrick, and welcome to the final edition of Fort Hill Student News. Our shout out this episode goes to Ms. Lockery for being an extraordinary teacher and mentor and making student news possible.
Our student life segment will focus on empathy, the final component of pride.
For our oral history segment, we will explore the Vietnam War.
Finally, in our current event segment, we will talk about the presidential election.
Now on to student life.
This edition of Student Life will focus on empathy, the final component in pride. Okay, let me help with that.
Hey guys, do you have room for one more?
No, you can't sit with us. Hey, we have an extra seat here if you want to come sit with us.
Okay, great. Come on, be included. Let us help.
Did you know Fort Hill recently won the Silver Hammer Award for the building's good condition and maintenance? In December of 2015, Historical Research Methods in collaboration with MPT went to Frostburg State University to interview Vietnam veterans. Here are some of the highlights.
When I shot a man in the face. But I have many vivid memories. When you're in combat as long as I was, you pick certain things out, your mind does, and you really can't purge them. They just simply stay with you. But I think some things are more dramatic, and I don't know why they stay in my mind, but I do remember we were in fighting one night, and one of my men had been wounded, and there were flares going off, and I could see two men, he was between them with an arm over each of their shoulders, and they were running through the jungle, coming back into our position, yelling, don't shoot, because it's very dangerous to come back into an infantry position, believe me. And it was just that vignette of combat activity. There's three men there, and they were silhouetted against this bright light, yelling, don't shoot me.
We lost a couple of soldiers that hurt badly. That is the worst thing about war. You get to know somebody and you see them die right beside you. It never goes away. It stays with you forever.
I can't see military movies because of this whole thing. And the war touches you at a place where I've never been touched before emotionally.
Most men who've been in combat are good at compartmentalizing, and I did for a long time. You just set it aside, set it in the back of your mind, and get on with life. I felt that was the best thing I could do for those who didn't make it. And it is a little hard to adjust. I don't think I had a lot of trouble, but I know a lot of men did, particularly those who served in combat units. But I compartmentalized it well and got on with my life, and I think was able to accomplish a few things. But it always scars you, I would say. Not a day goes by, not a day, that I don't have one flashback.
On September 13th, 1968, General Keith Ware, he was the commanding general overall, and General Talbot was his right-hand lieutenant general. And so once in a while, General Talbot, who called himself our donut dolly, he would have us over with his staff to have dinner. So we would not eat the mess food, for a change. So he treated us very well, and we cared for them a lot. And on September 13th, 1968, I came back to the base from working, and I saw everybody crying, and I went up and I said, what happened? And they said General Ware's helicopter was shot down at Loch Ninh, and everyone on the helicopter was lost. General Ware also had a big, beautiful German Shepherd who went with him everywhere, and his name was King. And I would go over to the general's mess, and I would play with King, you know, and it was like being at home. It was like a touch of home. And when we learned that the general was down, we cried for 24 hours straight, off and on. I was so touched. We were all so touched. We just would be in a big group hug for 24 hours. We had a memorial service at that little base chapel, which is this wooden, like a picnic area, basically, all out of wood on the Like base. But it was a chapel. And we went to the service the next day for General Ware. And I was with the other girls, and we went in and we sat down, and I was fine for a few minutes, but we looked in the front of the chapel, and there were 8 people on that helicopter, 7 others besides General Ware. And so what they had at the front of the chapel was a bench, and it had 8 pairs of military boots, and a bench, and then 8 military helmets. And under the helmet on the left was the Medal of Honor underneath of it. And to the right of that was King's leash, because King was lost too.
Did you know the Vietnam War is known as the American War in Vietnam?
For our current events segment, we will discuss the 2016 presidential election.
The presidential election is near. This time is stressful for the citizens, the media, and the candidates themselves. In order to be a presidential candidate, a nominee has to achieve a certain amount of delegates' votes from their party's convention. Since 1972, the Iowa caucuses have been the first test of the candidate's vote-getting ability. A caucus is a meeting to select convention delegates. Caucuses are a true test for a candidate as they assess their strategy, organizational strength, and intensity of support. Most of the delegates chosen are selected in primaries. There are 2 types of primaries. In an open primary, voters of any affiliation may vote for a candidate. A closed primary means that voters may only choose candidates that are running in the party they are registered in. Currently, Donald Trump is the only candidate in the race for the Republican nomination. Trump has secured his nomination as of last week, receiving the 1,237 delegates needed for nomination. In the Democratic convention, Hillary Clinton has 2,312 out of the needed 2,383. Of those delegates, 543 are superdelegates. A superdelegate is one who is free to support any candidate of their choosing, regardless of the people's opinion. Bernie Sanders has 1,501 pledged delegates votes and 44 superdelegates votes, totaling 1,545 votes overall. If neither of these 2 candidates reach the needed amount for nomination, then a special contested convention will be needed. This will make it difficult to select a nominee.
Did you know? Weather and farming patterns used to determine when Election Day was held.
Did you know?
Well, now you do. Thanks to Fort Hill Student News.
Thanks for watching.
See you next year.